guys and gals, now we're here from Drake Wing Gaming, and so me on Twitter, the Gaming Drag. Today I'm coming back at you another Let's Play episode of Tennis Ace, June's Path. So yeah, let's go ahead and jump right back into it, shall we? Alarm chain, you were up, and let's go. Alright. When I stopped to think about it, they have all been songs that I heard June playing on the piano. This entire thing feels so very unusual to me. Usually I'm the type to set up multiple alarms in 5-minute increments just to make sure I don't cancel one and end up waking up late. And I have no shame in saying that I usually always cancel the first few alarms. But today, and I don't know why that happened, I woke up half an hour before my first alarm feeling pretty good, actually. A noise outside. I've been in a surprisingly good mood lately, but I still could never shake off that feeling of permanent drowsiness. Like, no matter how much sleep I get, I'm always tired and wanting more sleep. I suppose one could just say I'm lazy. I got so used to dealing with it when I was younger, and I was surprisingly active back then. At the very least, no one could really tell that deep down I was a lazy child. But as my motivation tanked in the past few years, I've gotten more and more lazy to the point that teachers began referring to me as a problem child. That thought on its own is already kind of bizarre when I think about my experiences in my old school, but once I've gotten used to it, I didn't even bat an eye. I suppose I might have just become apathetic towards my own situation. I couldn't really pinpoint the reason why, but my attitude started to change very slowly once again. I wasn't quite sure when it was that I began looking forward to facing my daily routine again. But recently, after being forcefully made aware of one fact I hadn't noticed until now, my perception started to change. It was right after I met that clumsy, silly tiger that my outlook began to change once again. Once I became aware of that fact, I started feeling incredibly uncomfortable. First of all, how could someone change my life that much without me realizing? Even if I was just keeping an eye on him because I felt like he was some kind of helpless stray kitten that I needed to take care of. The reality is that little by little I saw myself getting more involved in his own life. Watching him rehearse, going to his piano competitions, playing games together, meeting his family, helping him study, going out with all on my own. It was right around the time that I first met June that I felt myself being jolted awake and becoming active again. Until then I was just happy spacing out in class or even skipping it entirely to laze around on the rooftop. Going straight home right after class was over and not putting much effort into anything. Hell, I'd only go out with my friends if they went through all the trouble of organizing group outings and dragging me over to them. I didn't even realize how much they were having to coddle me for us to keep it all in contact until just recently. When I think back at it, I feel a pang of guilt welling up in my chest. I really need to apologize at some point for being so self-absorbed. I didn't even know what kind of trouble they'd been going through because I kept pulling away without realizing. I truly am a shameless person. Even as I'm thinking these thoughts over to myself, I can't help but think that this degree of introspection is really unlike me, which is a problem in and of itself. I can't keep complaining that June lacks self-awareness and then being completely oblivious myself. That's just hypocritical. Hell, it wasn't even until last week that I realized just how rough I could be when speaking to other people. Having to be lectured in public for saying unnecessary and hurtful things. What am I, a child? And as I was struck thinking these weird thoughts, before I noticed I had already gotten myself ready and arrived to class way earlier than usual. Taking out water time. That's pretty good. Chill Sprite. It's like Sprite cranberry. It's interesting. Of course, I spent quite a bit of time spacing out by myself on my own desk. I suppose old habits die hard. I kept fidgeting absent-mindedly, constantly looking over to the chair next to mine and waiting for a certain tiger to arrive. God, how pathetic am I? Do I really need June to be here to do anything at all? It's good to think over my own behavior at times, but I really don't want to get stuck thinking things like this all morning. It makes my head hurt, so I need to find some kind of way to distract myself. It shouldn't be too hard. Most of my classmates are here already, or at least the ones that I have any kind of interaction with. They're spread around in their own groups, and I suppose I could just insert myself into one of them and go from there. It's not like it'd be hard. Even if we don't talk often, I like to think that I have a positive relationship with most of them. So, who do I go with to pass time until class starts? Huh. Actually, that's a... Okay. I suppose if I'm given the choice, I'd rather go for the less rowdy ones. Although, dealing with the class representative can be a headache on its own at times. She's still friendly and agreeable enough that it shouldn't be much trouble. Plus, Jin is the chillest, most level-headed person I know, and talking to him is always a good time. Yo! I get up from my seat, walking up to them and giving a curt greeting. The two of them are snapped out of their conversation and look up at me with a pleasant smile on their face. Yuichi-kun, good morning. Is there anything you need? Not really, I'm just a bit tired of sitting around on my own doing nothing, so I was wondering if I could join you guys at whatever you're doing.
Well, I don't think that'd be a problem, really, but right now we're just talking about last week's tests.
The tests? Didn't you guys have plenty of time to discuss that on Friday already? The two of them nod slowly, their smiles softening a bit, almost as if they are pitying me? It makes my skin crawl for some reason. I really don't appreciate it. Yes, that's true, but just checking up with each other on where we thought we made mistakes and having a quick conversation about what we did isn't the same as going over the material.
I guess we're not discussing the test so much as we are brushing up on the parts of it we struggled with.
I guess I should have expected for you two to be this responsible. Let me guess, Kyoko and Jin wanted no part of it. The two smiled, regretfully shaking their heads. Kyo-chan was interested in something else today. Look around and see you're speaking with Victor of all people. Oh yeah, now that's a pair you don't usually see. Fox giggles, leaning back on her chair. She probably just finds him cute and is looking for some reason to talk to him. What? Really? It doesn't take her much to get interested in a boy, but then again, it also doesn't take her much to lose interest. I know I must have said this before at some point, but I maintain it. That girl is scary. Okay. I'm surprised you didn't just drag her with you to go over the test. Kyo-chan is a good enough student, but she's really not going to go through all this trouble unless she feels like she absolutely has to keep her grades up. She's just fine as long as she gets a passing grade. Well, this isn't the advanced class, so I suppose that kind of disposition is to be expected of the students here. Of course, I am talking to two of the students that got into that class and refused it, so they're definitely going to be different from the rest of the people here. I myself got into that class too, but I think it's pretty safe to say I'm an anomaly. My attitude towards my studies is much closer to Kyoko than it is to these two.
Getting Jin to study is already pretty difficult as it is, even when he has exams looming over his head. Getting him to focus the week after they've passed, I'm not even going to bother with that.
Sounds like you've given up on him completely.
Not completely. If I bother him enough, I could probably get him to listen for a little bit, but it'd be too much effort for too little reward. He's the kind of person who doesn't really take things seriously until his deadlines are staring at him in the face.
I don't want to say that sounds a lot like me, but it sounds a lot like me. I really don't like that. The class rep takes one single look at my face and begins to smile deviously. It sends a shiver down my spine just seeing her like that. It's like some kind of mad genius scheming and plotting against you. Oh my, that description looks an awful lot like someone we know, doesn't it? From the look on your face, I guess you think so too, right, Yuichi-kun? I hate it when she does that. I swear, it seems that this girl can read my thoughts sometimes, and it is really creepy. And of course, she always does that to tease me. Ugh. Yeah, that June really is a handful at times, huh? Yes, he sure is. He sure is. She chuckles to herself, covering her mouth with her hand. I can tell from the look on their faces that the two of them know that I know that she's talking about me, but I really prefer not to open that particular can of worms. Anyway, I have nothing better to do regardless, so could I join you guys?
And studying? That's really unlike you.
He's not wrong about that. Well, I spent all of last week tutoring June since I was worried about his grades, and to be honest, I still am. I don't really feel like putting in the work if it's just for my sake, but I can help him a bit more if I do so. Aw, that's pretty sweet of you. You two seem to be joined at the hip lately.
Oh yeah, now that I think about it, you two have been leaving school together a lot more recently. So have you been tutoring him, huh?
Yeah, I got the feeling that if I didn't, he'd just keep struggling on his own, and I really didn't want to see that. Besides, no one needs a 20-year-old high school senior. 21, even if you consider that he turns 20 this year still.
Wait, Jun-kun is already 19?
Surprising, huh? He really doesn't act like it most of the time. Actually, I'm surprised you already knew, class rep. I am the class representative. Usually the task of introducing new students in our class falls to me, so it doesn't hurt to have a little bit of information. If I remember correctly, Shuichi was the one who got us to handle that when June transferred here, though. That's different. The student council president remains president until he either graduates, relinquishes the position of, or an assembly of the school students votes him out. Representatives have to be chosen every year. I might have been class representative last year, but I wasn't in the first day of the class this year. Oh, I hadn't thought of that. I guess that's true.
Speaking of Kobayashi-kun, he hasn't arrived yet, huh?
Not really. I'd be talking with him instead of you guys if he were here. No offense.
I'm not offended, but I do wonder, do you know if anything has happened to him lately?
What do you ask?
Well, usually he's really boisterous and cheerful, but ever since the festival, he's looked like he has something gnawing at the back of his mind. He's much less active lately.
Is he? I think you're just imagining things. I can actually more or less guess the reason why. It's probably my fault that he's like that. Even if he says he's fine with the way things are right now, there's no way he's really 100% fine. Besides, that tiger is prone to just hiding away his problems so people won't worry about him. It's a giant pain in the ass.
Maybe it's just my imagination.
He might just be fatigued and a little stressed out. He's really prone to bouts of overworking. Overworking? June? You sure we're talking about the same person? Well, obviously not in academics, but I do know he's constantly practicing in the music room. He locks himself away in there and just plays for hours non-stop. He does? Since I haven't been to the faculty's office lately, I haven't passed by the music room in a while either. When was the last time I even went over there to check up on June? How do you know about this? I talk a lot with Katsuragi-sensei, and she handles a lot of the paperwork for the faculty. That includes students who access the club rooms.
Oh yeah, since the piano is there, it's pretty expensive. They probably keep a close eye on the people who get to go in and out of the room, huh?
Pretty much. Grand pianos aren't exactly the cheapest things out there. That thing probably costs more than a brand new car. What? There's no way a piano could cost that much. I mean, June has one at home. If it were that expensive, there's no way he could have gotten one, right? Admittedly, I don't know much about brands and whatnot, but Katsuragi-sensei mentioned once that the piano that they have there's a sort of high-end model. Really? I know this is kind of an expensive school, but is that sort of thing really necessary? That thing has been sitting around gathering dust for 9 years before June showed up.
Well, I wonder why they never arranged for there to be music lessons in school. They certainly have an impressive amount of instruments stored away.
I think it was part of their plans, but they could never clear the budget to hire different tutors for all the instruments. So they just brought a bunch of expensive instruments without first checking if they could afford to hire teachers? Isn't that really careless?
Well, you are talking about a school that drops most of its budgeting and administration duties on the student council. Is it really that surprising they're not run well?
You've got a point. I guess that would explain why Shuichi is so overworked all the time. Dude is going to graduate from high school already knowing how to balance a checkbook and work a budget. That is both amazing and super sad. Since you guys are already close, I'm sure you're keeping an eye on him already, but just to be safe, make sure he doesn't overwork himself too much, okay? It'd be really bad if he got himself sick. Yeah, I'll make sure to keep that in mind. June, you dumbass, you cause problems for people even when you're not here. Sometime later, the bell rings in the middle of Shima-sensei's lecture on the 5 greatest generals in feudal Japan. The buck sighs, quickly writing an assignment on the board. For our next class, I want you all to write a paper on the most influential figures in the Sengoku period. Make sure not to stray from the pre-established guidelines on academic research you were given last month. I will see you all then. He quickly grabs his belongings and walks out of the classroom. Students quickly turn around in their seats, taking the opportunity to chat while waiting for the next teacher to arrive. We're supposed to be having modern literature class now, which isn't exactly the most exciting. It's actually a little odd the teacher isn't here already. She tends to always be really punctual. After a couple minutes, the sound of the door being slid open causes all the students to straighten their backs and turn around to look forward. But instead of the door at the front of the classroom being opened, it is instead the back door that the sound originates from. June walks into the classroom, freezing for a second once he notices all the eyes on him. He quickly mouths off an apology to any who still have their eyes on him, fidgeting a little from all the attention suddenly gathered on him before walking to his seat. As soon as he comes closer, I begin to notice how his eyes look a little unfocused. His fur is slightly matted and there are bags under his eyes, which are really hard to notice due to him having stripes so close to them. Is everything okay? You don't look so good. Huh? Oh, right. Yeah, it's fine. I just woke up feeling a little weak this morning. Alright, y'all, I'm actually going to pause it right there. Thank y'all so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, ring that notification bell. I love you all, and I'll see you all in the next video. Bye-bye!